Okay, everything looks good. All right, so while I'm letting people sign in, everybody's starting to join the chat. I'm going to throw out a couple things. So, number one, I am going to be putting out a product here pretty soon, sometime this summer. It's currently in the works. I'm currently trying to put it out. Secondarily, I am still running boot camps. I'm going to be doing a boot camp in New York in a couple months. So, if anybody wants to fill up a spot in that, you just let me know. I have one spot left. Just hit me up. And I'm running boot camps every weekend in Vegas. So if that's something you're interested in, just send me a message. 702-841-9909. Actually, here, I'll put it in the chat right now. For coaching, text 702-841-9909. Okay, cool. And anybody has any questions too? If you got a question, just make sure to like the video, drive up the algorithm a little bit. So if anybody does have a question, make sure to also like the video. All right. Anyways, yeah. So anybody has a question, don't be afraid to throw it down there. Would I ever move from Las Vegas? Nah, yeah, probably. I don't know. Right now, though, it's a pretty good spot for me. But like I said, yeah. So if anybody has a question, don't be afraid to. If you do have a question, throw it down there. Make sure to like the video as well. Okay. So Vegas is just. I mean, for right now, where I'm at, I'm trying to improve in this, and Vegas is the best spot to do that, especially for somebody in my field. There's a lot of other cities that have good benefits. Austin, Texas has a lot of beautiful women, a lot of social circle game. If that's something you guys are interested in, um, yeah, it's New York is amazing for a social circle game. A lot of you guys who are in New York, you guys really need to take advantage of social circle. I mean, that city's incredible for social circle game. I'm surprised that I haven't heard of anybody yet taking advantage of that. I just realized I have my mic turned in. Oh well, whatever. There's also, I mean, California overall is a pretty bad place now. Anywhere that's super left leaning, it's not even a bad place. It's just like the girls don't take care of themselves. There's a lot of extra games in regards to like everything is a show kind of thing. It's like everybody gets offended so easily. Nobody has real conversations with each other anymore. But I'll say this: in those cities, a lot of the guys are very soft. Like the guys out there, like every time I go to a city that is like that, it's pretty easy to clean up. It's just like the big thing I don't like is like the extra games that people play to try to show something about themselves and just be normal. That's it. Just it just annoys me. It's like the games are unnecessary. Just have a normal conversation. Is there anything from old school QA that you think is now dated? Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, they didn't focus on fundamentals as much as they could have. I mean, there's some cool strategies, and they also, I mean, they had a lot of ideas that weren't really very based in anything. I mean, they were. It was good that they were thinking outside the box, but yeah, canned lines are not as important as they used to be, for sure. Like everybody wants to put a lot of weight onto canned lines. Canned lines are completely irrelevant if you don't have the right mentality or tone. Like tone matters just as much as canned lines, and people don't ever talk about that. When somebody's super into canned lines, they never talk about that. And so there's a lot of things. Also, too, I mean DHVs in general. I don't like DHVs. Everybody gets mad at me when I say that. What's another thing I don't like about old school game? Uh, they have a focus on trying to be these omnipotent like entities, these Neo the Matrix types. When in all actuality, I mean, what you need to learn how to be is just a cool guy. Which again, that in itself is abstract. That's an abstract idea. Like, what is a cool guy, right? How can I tell the difference from a nervous or genuine smile? Well, I mean, it comes across the energy, comes across through experience. Like you can, so mirror neurons are a thing, and you can actually kind of get meditative with it. So if you look at my face right now, and you were to like go blank and try to feel my face right now, I'm not really showing too much, other than probably being tired. But yeah, like what you do is you get meditative and you look at somebody's body language and face and you ask yourself, what is the emotion that I'm feeling off this person? And that's usually what they're feeling. You can tune this and get even better at this over time, but it's through a lot of experience. Like a nervous smile is more like do you see the nervousness? Like there's a little nervousness to it where it's like, hey, like that's more of an authentic smile. There's a difference. Like, whereas this is a normal, this is an authentic smile. It's like, hey, like that's authentic. So that's the difference. But you can't, honestly, it's hard for some of you guys who haven't been approaching enough, which most of you guys aren't. I'm really actually sad about that. I wish you guys went out and actually took advantage of the stuff I'm giving you guys. You guys use this, you guys take my advice and then speculate about it, but you guys don't actually use it. Try it out because I could be wrong. I don't think I am in most cases. I imagine I am in probably something, but you guys aren't actually going out. So like the way you can tell is by going out. um, what are the traps that lead to guys staying as newbies? One of two things. Either one, again, not going out enough, or two, not having quality of effort. Which means like you guys are not thinking critically about your results. You're not thinking about, oh, I said this line doesn't work. I'm not gonna say that anymore. Oh, I've been feeling like this. How do I get myself to feel like that? Oh, Denton says that this matters, but I'm not actually doing anything to change that. Sometimes the ego also plays a role. The ego gets very rigid and stuck, especially if you've been the same person for a long time. And now I'm telling you to be somebody different. And it's hard to get your ego to get on your side. It's going to self-lie to you. It's like, so lack of self-awareness, honestly. Lack of self-awareness and like fear and just being dumb. Honestly, just being stupid. Because like anybody that takes my coaching, like every one of them is growing and getting better. There's a couple, like, I mean, there's some guys who are just not taking my advice, but then that's my job as a coach to convince them to take my advice. So that's, it's not even their fault. It's that their ego's holding them back, and I have to convince their ego to do what I'm telling them to do for their own good. Um, so here, it like anybody can get better. It's about the critical thinking. And if you find yourself being stuck, get a good coach. If like your ego is too much or like you're just finding yourself hitting a wall, get a coach, get a good coach. What are the traps that keep guys in intermediate purgatory? Intermediate purgatory is like, I mean, there's so many different things that happen. I mean, there's probably like a dozen big ones that keep people in intermediate purgatory. One of the biggest ones that came to the top of my head was that a lot of guys, they get very stuck in the robotic style of game versus like learning how to become. So you fake instead of becoming, or like it's that catch 22 where you approach a girl, but you don't assume it's going to go well, which that I call it a catch 22 because it's like, how are you supposed to assume it's going to go well if it's never gone well before? And so it takes like a little bit of like, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of brainstorming and a lot of like almost like brainwashing yourself to get over it. That's why I call it catch 22. It's one of the biggest hurdles. If there's a Fermi paradox for the people that got good at this and who didn't, that's one of the biggest like walls in the Fermi paradox of game, I guess you could say. You guys know what the Fermi paradox is. It's some science fiction nerdy stuff. Let's see. All right. So do you ever plan on doing anything outside of game? And what would you say fundamentals of game are now? You said that you've changed for you. Well, so I'm a pretty smart guy, and like I like a lot of shit. I actually, right before I was while I was working on some stuff, I was actually listening to some stuff about faster than light traveling spaceships and how there's the different strategies, which I've already watched like a ton of videos on this, but I'm really into that kind of stuff right now. Then I started getting into time dilation and the speed of electrons spinning around an atom. I've been thinking about that a little bit. So, I mean, the speed of an electron, generally speaking, stays consistent despite the fact it's moving faster through time. So that means it's displaced from time. So then that's another thing that I was thinking about. Then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, as you travel faster at the speed of light, is there an exponential curve growth? And then it turns out there's a hyperbolic curve growth to where time slows down. So it goes more like this. So instead of like an exponential, it gets closer and closer to infinity. There is a finite point where a hyperbolic curve goes and slams against the wall. And so I was thinking about that. I'm like, well, does that mean that there's a viscosity to speed? And does that how does that play? And that's kind of like, so I like a lot of shit, not just game. I study a lot of stuff. So could I do something other than game? Yeah. Well, I stopped coaching it. Probably not. I also write too. I mean, I write all kinds of dumb shit. Actually, if you guys want to see something really stupid. So I do like shit like this where I sketch stuff. And yeah, I just kind of like, I'm writing a book like basically about fucking Pokemon, honestly. Just something like it's like little dumb thing that I like doing. it gets out my inner nerd. I'm very like I'm pretty much like my brain's kind of like a border collie in a way where like if I don't constantly work it, I get itchy and I start getting depressed. And my brain wants to do what my brain wants to do, and I can't always convince it to do what I like to. It wants to study and it wants to learn what it wants to learn. And so when that happens, I get obsessed about something and I can't like a lot of you guys that actually follow my shit are like this too. Where you guys probably can relate with this. I'm like a hyper obsessive. So once I get obsessed about something, I can't my brain won't let me let it go until I understand it. Which is kind of cool. So yeah, there's a lot of different directions I might go. I mean, I'm already writing like 5 books, like honestly. But I'll probably always, but that won't be until like I'm 40 or something like that. And I'll still be coaching this when I'm doing that. It's just I'll probably more automate all this. Probably get some more coaches. I've never heard of Game Solved before. Here, just send me the link to it, and I'll look it up later. I've never heard of it. No, NYC is incredible for cold approach. It's just the guys that are out there are terrible. They're so negative. I don't know what it is about New York City pickup guys, but they're so negative and so gross. They make game out there hard, but New York City game is really easy. It's actually a lot of fun. I'd say it's like secondary to like Las Vegas in terms of like just game wise. It's just a lot of the guys out there, the pickup guys just suck. So if you're somebody who's gaming in New York City, try to pull out, there's some cool guys that are scattered amongst the pickup community out there. Pull those guys out of those major groups and bring them into a more cool group. Like if I went out there and I started gaming in New York City, I'd probably be skimming those groups to try to find like the cool guys and pull them out to create my own little pickup social circle. Yeah, like for example, I mean, like it's only $80 to get into a club out there, and those guys make a lot of money. They make 6 figures a year. $80 to go to a nice club versus going to Purple Cow every weekend. It's just like, why not spend the $80? Go somewhere where there's like hot girls versus like this spot where there's like a few scattered, somewhat attractive girls everywhere. It only costs you like $80. Yeah, for sure. Hey Kelly, yeah, for sure. Just send it to my email, or you can text it. I put my my business phone number at the very top. That's mainly for coaching and whatnot, but send it to that phone number. Here, let's do you think this space would have been better if the coaches got along and were able to work together, share the best things, advice for success? Yeah, I mean, obviously. It's like, to be fair, this sounds really bad, but there's only a handful of coaches that I think are actually good. And there's like, it's a scattering levels because, all right, so where I'm at, I can see guys who are where I used to be. And I can tell what level they're at, and their ego gets them kind of stuck. There's a lot of different ways that coaches get stuck. The same way that people get stuck in game, coaches get stuck at certain levels too. And so, like for one example is that the ego dating coach, where he's like, I'm incredible at this, and I'm already perfect. I cannot improve my game anymore. Like I've reached the pinnacle of game, and like this guy hasn't reached the pinnacle of game. And I can say this because I improve every month to 2 months. Like those of you who are getting my coaching, see my coaching improving. Every like if you take 3 months to 6 months off coaching calls with me, take a break, and you come back, you notice my coaching is completely different. And that's every like 3 to 6 months. But these coaches get stuck in static in an ego where they're like, I'm already perfect. I don't need to put any more energy into this. And it's an ego. And so ego is that's a big stopper for a lot of people. It's also not thinking critically about results. Maybe it's about getting stuck in a certain pillar. So I call them the pillars of game. These are different strategies guys employ to get girls. So there's social circle, there's lifestyle, there is online dating apps / Instagram, and then there is cold approach, which is the one that I went into. dentondating@gmail.com. Here, I'll send it to you right now. I did have a business one, but the business one was like tied to a website that no, it's just the website was being totally scammy. Let's see. Do models just randomly appear in casual bars / pubs? Or do you have to do a specific? Okay, I mean, like models are people too. So yeah, they will on occasion go to bars, but I mean, like attracts like. They will on average be more in places where models generally go, like in general. And like I have some friends who are models, and whenever they go out, it's actually there's a lot more pressure. So if they go to a slow like a slimier place where there's a lot more crime, they're going to get a lot of attention. And it's actually like we've had times where there's fights breaking out and we have to get the girls out of there because now there's a lot of tension on the girls. So sometimes guys will try to fight us to try and impress the girls, for example, or drunk guys will go out of the way trying to like come up onto them and being physical with them type shit if they're in the place that's a little bit shady. So there's the if a girl's like unusually just so unbelievably attractive, she's going to get a lot more attention. And around seedier people, it's not the best. It's not the best thing. It's not very good. And so yeah, they're going to go to places that are generally higher end for that reason, but they will also go to bars. But you got to also understand that those bars and those lower end spots where there's a lot more thugs, that it's just too going to be too much attention. It's going to actually get them in trouble and it could possibly get them hurt. Um, did you ever hit a moment in game where you were never the same after? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Multiple times over. I mean, that happens all the time for me. That happens a lot. I'm trying to think of the last one that happened. I mean, dating apps was one of them. I always bring up dating apps, figuring out the pillars of game and starting to like loosen up my own ego and allow myself to look into it. There was also a moment, like I always talk about this, and a lot of you guys who've done coaching calls with me will know this too. There's this moment where I was getting rejected for like 2 months straight, like just harshly. And I remember I was like crying before I went out. I was staring in the mirror and I was like, fuck this. I'm so, and this is what's called the Satori experience. It's like where you go through so much pain where you kind of like, or like so much bullshit that you just kind of let go and you reach this like moment of nirvana. And I hit that moment of nirvana and I went out and I crushed it. And I was like, oh my God, this was me all along. It was that big realization that it wasn't the women or like the outside circumstances. It was me that was affecting this the most. And then when I realized that, that's when I really bought into this because I'm like, oh shit, it was me that was causing all this. It was me, not the girls, not the environment, not the place, not my looks or that or this. It was like it's been me that's been causing this, and that was pretty big for me. Um, you guys will even notice like my so a lot of people now say that I'm good looking. Roll back in my videos, watch my older videos. I worked at this because like I stopped. I'm like, oh, I'm this fat slob who, and like I need to take better care of myself, and I need to be more open minded. And so I'm gonna start taking care of myself in my fashion, and like I'm constantly revamping everything. You know. Um, oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I like to think I was. uh, but yeah, yeah. The way I mean, what's really funny about this too is a lot of guys don't even. It's very like subtle, but like the way I move and speak is very different too, and people don't put that into the factors of why like maybe I appear like all right. So the way I move now is my face is a lot more relaxed. I'm a lot more expressive. Uh, I'm also, I mean, I move more in a slow, languid way, and my eye contact's more on point. My face is not like scrunched up in stress all the time. Like, hey guys, how's it going? It's like it's more like just relaxed. Like my facial expression is more authentic, but it's because I polish the person behind I polish the person up here so that the body language would be on point whenever I do that. I actually visualize. So if I have a bad interaction where I do something emotionally where I get nervous or anxious, I will run the interaction back in my head and I'll be like, okay, look, you felt like this and you thought like this. Think and move like this instead. And I'd visualize it and rerun it. And I'd redo it again. And so then like by the time, so now like the next time that interaction comes, my body knows like on a task level how to move and speak in that arena. I recently started doing on my coaching calls too, where I'm like on a coaching call, and I used to feel really bad about talking to my clients in a way that was like a leader because I'm like I felt like that's for the girls and like that it's like almost felt like it was like kind of like a game I was playing with the girls and I didn't want to play games but I'm like no it's not a game, it's who I am. I need to let you understand that on a deep level. And actually, I mean, a lot of the guys started actually taking my advice more seriously when I started doing it too. Which also helps out the results because if you guys are gonna do what I tell you to do, you guys are gonna get good at this. So ultimately, oh here, one sec. I got some girls coming in. One sec. I'm gonna tell them, give them some space. Hey, hey, I'll turn off the camera for about 5 seconds. You guys run in somewhere. They're being dumb. They're being a little stupid right now. I'm just gonna cover the camera for 5 seconds while I run to the room. All right, 1 sec. Hey guys, yeah, you can run through. I'll be done in like a quick second. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just want to give them a second. They don't want to be on YouTube. Okay, so here let's see. What is a cool guy? Okay. Also, what were the fundamentals of the game for you now? Actually, somebody asked me that in the last one. I still have the notes right here from when that guy asked me, and I'm still trying to figure it out, actually. So the fundamentals are, I mean, I've been thinking about it a little bit, and it's still kind of hard to say. It's not, I'll tell you what it's not. Push-pull isn't it. That's not one of the fundamentals anymore. It is something that at a certain level, some guys might have to focus on. So if you're somebody who pulls too much, you might need to push more. If you're somebody who pushes too much, you might need to pull more. But that's not something specifically that is fundamental to somebody's game. I mean, one of them is believing in yourself for sure. Like believing that you're sexy, believing that you're worthy. That's important. But other than that, it's like I mean, the four pillars are pretty big too. You have to like invest either in one, if not all four of the pillars of game. Yeah, honestly, I mean, like the biggest thing is like the four pillars and believing in yourself right now. It's like, and also quality plus quantity of effort. It like to get good. Like if you're somebody who's inherently good at this, that's not really so important if you don't really care to make your results better. Like, I mean, anybody like at any level can improve their game. Like there's no ceiling. There's no ceiling. So like, I mean, but if you're somebody who's not good at this and you need to get good at this, then it's quality plus quantity of effort. That's pretty big too. That's huge. It is. I remember you are less anxious than your previous videos too. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's also that's exposure therapy partially, but it's also too. I feel better in my skin. I feel more confident. I feel like I'm very confident now in my skills in this. Like before, like I mean, there was a time maybe about 3 or 4 years ago where I was getting some sparse results and whatnot. Like I mean, all right, game wise, I was pretty good, but my coaching wasn't as good, and so I was getting like so with certain types of clients I could get results, but with other kind of clients I couldn't. Now, like I feel like now everybody's improving, and now if somebody gives me a question, I inherently know the answer, and I keep getting proven time and time again that I'm right by seeing the thing that I'm giving somebody working. So I'm feeling pretty confident. Like you guys can ask me anything. It's not that I feel like I know the answer. It's like I know the answer. Uh, toe, relax. Jesus, don't get me not demonetized. Don't get me taken down from here. Um, um, it was attraction versus comfort, not push and pull. Um, they're different. Push, attraction and comfort are different. Push pull is like so they're actually two they're similar concepts but they're different to Red Stoica. Push and pull and traction versus comfort are different but they're similar. Just to like explain that it's actually it's very abstract and it's hard for me to explain. But push pull and attraction and comfort are different. They are different. They do kind of like coincide slightly with each other, but they're not the same thing. Like I think traction versus comfort is more like an umbrella term for push and pull, if that makes sense. How did you go out attacking your sticking points? Identify your sticking point and then don't attack a lot of sticking points, attack one sticking point, and come to creative solutions. It very much depends on the sticking point. It also depends on if the sticking point is a bottleneck. But yeah, I mean, the best thing you can do is write down the sticking point. What are some creative solutions to this problem? And if those solutions don't work, don't say, I can't figure this out. Go back to drawing board and be like, okay, these didn't work. What else could I try? And the way that I did this was I was just desperate for results. I didn't know this. I actually learned this just because I was so desperate. Nobody told me this, which I know now is actually just like a fundamental life. Not everything works out the first time you try it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that nothing works. It just means that that didn't work. Does having a reputation for being a dating coach make girls notice you more? I actually don't even tell girls that I'm a dating coach, usually, unless I know them personally. Like then nobody knows I'm a dating coach. Um, yeah, I used to say it, and then but it would draw it would make girls less comfortable around me, and it would make girls think I'm always playing games, which I'm not playing games. I'm generally speaking just being myself. Obviously, the big thing I do is I focus on having fun, and by extension, other people around me have fun, and that makes me very valuable. So there's nothing really seedy about my game. It's just me being me at this point. There is some stuff that's very habitual from just me coaching for so long. So like at some point, like you start stacking canned lines and games over time, and like they come inherently and like they come through me. It's like I stacked all these habits over time. So that I have this tactic where I ask a getting to know you question and I improv off the answer. I'll weave different stuff in the answer. Like so the improving, I'll weave stuff in the improving aspect of the game. So I can weave like DLVs, I'll weave like disqualification, time constraints, I'll getting logistics into the question. So I'll weave all this stuff inherently. Let's see. You don't like DHVing in your game? Not the way that other people teach DHVing. It just anytime somebody talks about DHVing the way that like they talk about it in the game, like I DHV in a playful way, in a joking, tongue-in-cheek way. Anytime somebody talks about DHVing, I immediately assume they don't know what they're talking about. Like I've heard a lot of coaches talk about it and bring it up and like fight to the tooth to tell me that it works. And none of the ways they explain it to me ever, like from my experience, from like me going out and approaching so much for doing this for so long, it just doesn't align with any experience I've ever had talking to girls. So like I know it doesn't work. Like I just have too much. Like all right, I was talking to a couple of clients about this last week. I'm so good at this, like at least in visualization terms. Like just I've done this so much that now whenever a client asks me, like, okay, how like so I had one of my boys on the phone. He might be watching this call right now. He asked me, how can you tell a girl that's with a boyfriend versus one that's not? And like immediately my eyes shot to the right because I always go to the right when I'm visualizing. And I visualized like two people in a club, and I can create like a visual model. I'm like, okay, they're not dating. How do they move? And I can see the way they move and speak, and so I can start explaining it to them. Like that's how much in depth I understand this. Like I have literally mental models that I can pull from. Like I can ask my brain, how would somebody move in this situation? How do they move like this? And then my brain will tell me how they move and show me how they move. Like that's how long I've been doing this for. Like I got a very deep understanding of this. And anytime somebody talks about DHVing, I'm like, oh, that like I could do that visual model in my head and I'll run it. I'll be like, there's like a very small portion of girls that I've worked for, but it's a small portion of girls, and the type of girl that it would attract is not the kind of girl that any guy would really want. And it's just a very vapid, and it also creates so much more bullshit along the line. So like, if you're DHVing, the type of girl, like, so I could pick up that same girl, the same girl that the DHVing strategy would work for, in a way that doesn't add so many roadblocks to my game. So like by you trying to DHV, you're putting yourself in a box where there's a strategy that's even better for getting that same type of girl. Like if that makes sense. Let's see. When you're working on attraction and comfort, how do you make know that you've built up enough comfort to make her come out for a day too? You really don't. I mean, you never know a girl's situation 100%. The best thing I found to do is just being congruent, consistent, and fun and free and masculine and valuable. And the more you have those things in your aura, I guess you could say your aura, which is just express your body language and your facial tones and the way you speak and the way you say your words that express the internal dialogue or the internal person you are. The girl will have a higher and higher chance of hanging out with you because your value is so high. Why the fuck would she not hang out with you? And you're consistently valuable. You're not like fake valuable. You're not trying to fake that you're valuable. You are valuable in the way you move and speak. And the more you are that, the higher the percentage chance of a girl coming out on an approach is. Like if I go out, my first approach or two approaches, three maybe, won't be that good on flaking. But then after that, the numbers of flakes drop through the floor because now I'm in a great headspace. Because now I'm warmed up. How extreme can cold approach results get for guys who are really good? I mean, really good. I mean, very good, like weird good, like mind bending kind of good. Yeah, that I've known a couple guys who actually have game like that, and it's mind bending. And I've had times where like my game is like that. This doesn't happen super often, but it's like when I'm deep in flow. Like if I get really deep in flow, my game can get like that. But it's like I've seen guys who are consistently like that, and those guys are fucking eerie. It's eerie and weird and kind of like it throws you off. You're like, wait, is reality the way? Like seeing some guys makes me almost become religious in a way. Um, and I mean, being good at cold approach is kind of like it's kind of like asking what is life, because like life is very hard to nail down, because like viruses, like multiply and whatnot, and but they don't multiply for them by themselves. They need like a cell to multiply from, so they don't have like direct like what like at what point do you draw the line? What is cold approach? Like it's very muddy and very blurred, and like cold approach for everybody's different. Everybody wants something different out of this. So when you ask what's good at cold approach, it's like, well, what is the result you want? Which, so I assume it's what's called the Valley of the Dolls. The Valley of the Dolls is where you're laying in bed with like a dozen like Maxim models. Like that's probably like what you're thinking is that's called the Valley of the Dolls. In case you're curious. Um, yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy shit. Um, did you ever wonder how your life would have turned out if you never learned this stuff? Um, I probably yeah, sometimes. But I didn't think this was going to work out either. And I honestly, I think that in all actuality, so I'm very smart. I think if I was driven in a different area, I'd probably be rich. But I just I'm very obsessed about this, and my brain won't let it go until I understand this. So we'll see how long that takes. But yeah, my brain wouldn't let me let go of this. My ego, my drive, and my passion. And so I'm stuck in this until until my brain is like, okay, we understand this completely. There's no other turf to like learn, and there's nothing new. And I don't think I'm gonna reach that. Did I lose weight? No, I shaved my beard. So I cleaned up my beard, make it, and it slims me up a lot. So I clean up the sides. Um, yeah, you never talk about game. I agree. Um, okay, here I'll go for another like 5 minutes, and I'll probably bounce out. Just so we can go out. I'm gonna go out with the girls tonight. Walk the strip a bit. So if you guys see me out, say hi. Um, how can I isolate my girlfriend from her friends, family, and support system? You all right, bro? Don't do that. Toxic boy. All right. Uh, I'm locked into moving to Vegas. Hell yeah. Okay, good. Do it, man. Vegas is really cheap, actually, in comparison to other places. When you're working on attraction cover, how do you? Uh, how extreme can how can I isolate my girlfriend from? Do you ever wonder how your life would? Okay. Did you have a bunch of routines, questions prepared for the first, second, third interactions? Um, yeah, but they're like memorized terms. It's like I have a litany of strategies. Actually, to be fair, too many to count, and too many to actually like. It would take me a long time to quote it all. But I've been doing this for a long time. And I like a lot of my strategies now are not so much based on the getting the girls, but putting myself in a certain headspace. I care more about my headspace than getting any individual interaction, because once I'm in the right headspace, every girl likes me. So the biggest thing about game is getting myself to that place, and then once I'm in that place, then my game is bulletproof, and nothing can really touch me. Like a lot of guys worry too much about getting the individual girl. That's why you guys are in beginner intermediate. The advanced guys understand that it's not about that. It's about the way that I feel, which actually will raise your percentage of girls liking you. You guys don't understand that. You guys are like so focused on getting the individual girls that it makes it to where you're not free of outcome, or now you're like playing like button pushy games, or at least coming across seemingly like you're doing that instead of like doing it from the right headspace. Like I don't say a line to make it work necessarily, even though it might work. Quit trying so hard, I already like you. That's not said to like get a girl to chase me necessarily. It's said because I think it's funny. It's like because it pushes my buttons, not because it pushes like the girls' buttons more. It matters more. And because I'm like that too, the girls chase me harder because I don't give a fuck about the outcome. You guys care too much about like the individual interactions. The headspace matters. Talk about day game strategy more. I feel like you talk mainly about night game. Well, it's because I mainly night game. Day game, you can't practice fast enough. Like a lot of guys get like hooked up on day game because like so there's a lot of rationalizations. One is that cool like good people don't go out at night. That's bullshit. The other one is that what's the other one people usually say? I like how slow and relaxed it is. Cool, but I mean, like, is that how Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan practice? Do they practice like slow and relaxed game. It's mainly because guys are afraid of clubs. But yeah, here's the difference in day game versus night game. More girls are gonna have boyfriends. There's not as many people to approach, so you have to focus more on relaxation and relaxing more. You also have to like reach outside the box to talk to people when you're out. So like, make comments to people, give people compliments, try to get yourself more expansive. But the big things you have to focus more on relaxation, because the things in night game you have at night game, you don't have day game. Again, not as many single girls, not as many people to approach. So that usually sucks. Also, you can't really build a social circle in the day approaching people in a mall. That's not going to work. Not as easily. You could, but it's not as easy. Like night game, you can build a social circle because everybody goes to the club, and a lot of people, the same people, go to the club as an enclosed environment where you're expected to socialize. That's the biggest difference. There's not really too much different other than that. Like it's not like day game is completely different. It's not. The big thing is that a lot of people in day game kind of like throttle themselves. Like you guys don't understand you can pull in the day. You can pull in the day. You just need the right logistics and the right energy. But because you guys don't go out at night, you guys don't have that part of your brain that says I can take a girl home there. So then you guys kind of get like a little bit shoehorned. I heard you say Nashville, Tennessee was the best city to find a GF, but why? Oh, that might have just been me joking. No, but Nashville does have a lot of really beautiful women, and they're also country, which means like if you were looking for a wife, if a wife is your answer, like those girls out there are made to be wives, like culturally speaking. Who's the best coach for girls chase? Oh, I don't know. I never really gamed with those guys too much. They're all over the place. Do you feel like that there's way too many ways to reach a high level game? There's yeah, but there's a way for you. Like there's a way that you're gonna get good at game. Like everybody's direction. Like so, there's some certain key points that most people have when they're getting good, and then there's some things that are going to be very unique to you. Like the way that you get good at game is not going to be the way I got good at game. Essentially, like you have your different path, which is also why like you shouldn't be beating yourself up for your age. If somebody beats yourself up for your age, does it matter? Like, does it matter that if you're a millionaire by the time you're 30 or 40? Not really, not that much. Because by the time you're there, you're already a millionaire. It doesn't matter, not really. You guys are comparing people different experiences. Just because somebody's also winning too at one moment doesn't mean that they won't at another moment. You guys, yeah. So like essentially, everybody's direction to get to high level game is different. Like you're gonna like everybody's game actually like nobody's gonna have my game the same way nobody's gonna have your game once you get good. Like you might mimic me or somebody else in our styles, but when you get good, your style is gonna be different than mine or anybody else's. Like you're gonna have your own flavor of charisma. Like I have my own flavor. I have my own flavor of charisma. Everybody has their own flavor. Like my game is never going to be like any of my mentors ever. We should game together. Fuck yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay. How do you get yourself into the headspace on command? Like, I practice. So game doesn't ever stop. I'm always trying to make myself feel that way. At certain moments, obviously, I'm going to be like more anxious than usual, but I'm trying to constantly like, I'm trying to be social. I'm trying to like, if I work on my laptop, or one of my laptops, I'll go somewhere that I can sit down and be social. So I'll go to like a hookah lounge and somewhere where I'm like, I'm not going to be here necessarily working. I might go somewhere to go socialize while I'm working and tapping away my laptop. Little things like that. Act like if you're only practicing game 2 days out of the week or 1 day out of the week, then like it's hard to create consistency because your ego wants to see consistency before it changes. So when you're not gaming, you want to find ways when you're not gaming to be social and outgoing and relax, because that will actually help you in terms of when you go out. I also visualize a lot, so I know the feeling of being in state pretty well because I visualized it a lot. And so my brain has a really clear pathway to getting there because it knows what it feels like to get there. A lot of you guys don't know what it's like to be in that zone. And so that's harder for you to get there. I also have a process. So like if I'm out of it, I don't game like when I'm in it. Passing compliments, quick and fast, keep the pressure low. I focus on relaxing and being extroverted. Then as the extroversion and the relaxation rise, then I start adding fun. And I start turning up the fun knob as this goes up. And then so like then as I'm relaxing and getting extroverted, I turn up the fun and then I pop in the zone. And so like that's the biggest thing. Like that's the way to do it. There should be like that's my method that works for me, but I've noticed that a lot of other coaches have their own methods that are really good at this. Alex from RSD, old RSD, Alex Social. he's already naturally very extroverted, but he needs to relax, get in the zone. So what he does when he goes to the club, he just sits there and relaxes until he gets bored, and then he starts talking to people. Then Todd pretends like it doesn't exist and doesn't. He just approaches a lot and stays analytical, which also I think that I don't know actually. I haven't gamed with Todd enough to really say too much about his game. But Julian will do something. Julian has the most drastic and weird style where Julian will like initially diss on somebody to pop himself in the zone because then it frees him of outcome. And then once he's free of outcome and he sees that like he can do whatever the fuck he wants, then he like that's the one thing that holds him back from state. So once he does that, then he's in the zone. Tyler pushes himself through a Satori experience by putting himself through so much like approaching and through so much action that he forces his ego to get there, which that's a very energy intensive way to do it. But Tyler's also a little autistic, and autistic people have an easier time with approaching than people that are not autistic, usually. Who's the best dating coach out there? Well, I mean, like I'm gonna be like any rapper, anybody is in the. I'm gonna say me, but that's just like that's because I'm me. Like obviously, I'm gonna say that. I imagine most other coaches will say themselves as well. There are some other coaches though that are really fucking incredible for sure, but I'm very biased, so I can tell you like unbiasedly. I don't think. But it's also, I mean, I can see the results clients are getting from different guys, and I know some guys that are not exactly the most. They're not the most. They're not the nicest to their clients, and they don't really care about their clients, and you could just tell through the actions they don't really give a fuck about their guys, and that's sad. I mean, like the reason we do this is not to make money. I mean, like I could put in the same effort into something else and make a lot more money. So it doesn't. I don't think you should be doing this trying to make money or trying to satiate the ego, which is also something I did when I first got into this. I was trying to satiate the ego, where I'm like, look how good with girls I am, man. Like trying to like prove something to myself because I lacked internal locus of control. Now I don't really give a fuck. I mean, I do in some case, I do care still a little bit, but for the most part, that's pretty gone. But yeah, a lot of coaches kind of get stuck in that, and then they will turn on their clients. They're like a disagreeable type of nature, and so instead of admitting fault, they'll blame the client instead of like being like, I fucked up, that's my mistake, I'm gonna try to fix it. I don't do that. I don't think that's not fair to the client. That's not cool. If I make a mistake, I'm very quick to like feel really fucking bad about it. So yeah, let's see. What numbers can you expect where you can say you are a beginner in game? Like is 10 number from 100 approaches and no pull any good? Don't count. Don't count. Like I just did that more as like I knew that was just a really so I made a video of 30,000 approaches. I more made that because I knew that was like that's something legible you guys can look at and be like, oh, like he has the track record to prove that he knows what he's talking about. But like everybody's number of approaches is different, and it depends, and it depends on what you're working with as is. Like, are you winning in other places of life? Do you have how on a scale 1 to 10? How socially intelligent are you? Which that's if you're not very socially intelligent, that's also hard to understand because social intelligence like that's something you couldn't tell for yourself. Check out my infield, dude. I got like 42 like different videos, bro. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Okay. So I'll get bouncing out of this. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, you guys can totally ask later. I'll do another one of these probably next week, and I'm gonna be posting up a video here pretty soon. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be gaslighting masterclass, which is kind of a fucking it's kind of like a bit of a wild video. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them down below after the video is over. And if you guys want coaching, text me at 702-841-9909. Thank you guys for asking questions, and thank you to the guys who liked the video. That was pretty fucking cool. Talk to you guys later.